Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Praptasya kalyana gunanavasya Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Praptasya kalyana gunanavasya Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasurasena Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Bhaju Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Shivi Grahara Dana Nityanana Shingaratanma Diramajanado Juktasya bhaktamsya niyunjatapi Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Chaturvedhashi Bhagavat Prasada Satana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Chaturvedashi Bhagavat Prasada Satana Triptan Kridvaiva Tripte Bhajata Shadeva Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Shiradikama Dabayarapara Madhurya Lila Gunarupa Namna Shiradikama Madhurya Lila Pratikshana Swa Dhanalalupasya Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Ne Kunja Yuno Ratikeli Siddhai Jayali Virjukti Apekshaniya Nekunja Yuno Ratikeri Siddhai Tatratidaksha Atibalavasya Vande Gorashi Charanaravrindam. Sakchadhari Dvena Shramasta Shashre Ruktastathava Bhataiva Sadhavi. Kintu Prabhaja Priya Eva Tasya Vande Gorashi Charanaravrindam. Priya Eva Tasya Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi. Yasya Prasadam Yasya Prasadam Dayam Stubam Tasya Yasatrin Sandhyam Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam. Dhyayam stuvam tasya yasatrin sandhyam Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam. Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitina Mine Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Swami Nitina. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachatarisha Tarine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachatarisha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Bol Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Bol Hare Yaraye Namah Krishna Jadavaye Namah Jadavaye Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hare Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhattaraguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Shri Radha Nilamadhav Radha Nilamadhav Radhe Jaya Jagannath Jayo Baladeva Jayo Subhadrama Jayo Sudarshan Chakra Jaya Sitaram Sitaram Jayo Lakshman Hanuman Nitai Gaura Haribo Haribo Nitai Gaur Haribo Nitai Gaura Pramanande Jai Vishnu Paraparamita Prabhadaka Jai Suttara Shrimad His Divine Grace of Bhachanabhina Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Pratishta Viviti Samsapakacharya Vaishnava Sramani Gaurapriya Jana Krishna Prima Bhakti Datta Patita Pavana Vacharavinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Gaurya Guru Varga Patiti Udhar ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhattara Gunat Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Agana Sat Goswami Prabhu ki jai. नाम आचार्य शील हरिदास ठाकुर जी की जय। अनंत कुट वैष्णव वृंद की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसरि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय परम दयाल श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय। जय प्रेम नाम संकीर्तन एक जनक प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम श्री सच्चिनंदन श्रीमन गौरंग श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु गौर हरि महावृनय अवतार की जय। गोलोकेर प्रमधान हरि नाम संकीर्तन जग की जय। जोग धर्म हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। बृहत मृदंग ट्रांसडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सेवा की जय। शिष्य राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपना राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय। श्री ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय। तेलोशिव श्री राधा नील माधव की जय। मायापुर नवद्वीप एक चक्र धाम की जय। परम करुण श्री गौर निताय की जय। श्री पुरुषोत्तम कित्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी बलदेव प्रभु श्रीमती सुभद्रा देवी सुदर्शन चक्र भगवान की जय। भक्ति सर्व विघ्न विनशन कर्ण श्रृंगरे भगवान की जय। श्री गंगा माय जमुना माय की जय। तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी भक्ति देवी की जय। पुलुष मथुरा रानी की जय। एकादशी तिथि व्रत की जय। समवेत भक्त बिंद की जय। निताय गौर हरि परमानंद हरि। All glories to the somebody bodies. All glories to the somebody bodies. All glories to the somebody bodies. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga. Or you can sing both. Yeah? Sing both.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste
Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Prahlada Lada Laine. Hiranyakashipurvaksha Shilatankanakalaye
Jaya Shilatankanakalaye
Ito Narasimha Parato Narasimha Ito Narasimha Parato Narasimha Yato Yato Yamitato Narasimha Yato Yato Yamitato Narasimha Bahe Narasimha Hridaye Narasimha
Bahe Narasimha Hridaye Narasimha
Narasimha Madim Sharanam Prapade
Narasimha Madim
Sharanam Prapade Abakara Kamala Bare Nakham Adbhuta Singha Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanumlinga Keshabadita Narari Rupa Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Karakamalabaddhenakam Adbhuta Singha Dalita Hiranyakashipu Kananga Esavadita Narari Rupa Jaya Gadhiyare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Gadhita Hare Keshavadhita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare
Kesavadhita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare
Jaya Narsimha Dev, Narsimha Dev, Narsimha Dev, Jaya Narsimha Dev, Jaya Narsimha Dev, Narsimha Dev, Narsimha Dev, Jaya Narsimha Dev, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nrsimha Dev Bhagwan ki Jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Gaur Premanande
Hari Bol. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Shatavataye Namo Namah. Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Shatavataye Namo Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Shatavataye Namo Namaha. Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki.
Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha.
Radha Krishna Seva Pabo Eya Bhilashi
Radha Krishna seva pavo Abhinasi.
Radha Krishna seva pavo Abhinasi.
Radha Krishna seva pavo Abhinasi.
Moraya Omar Sharanaloy Tara Bancha Purna
Jetumara Sharanaloy Tara Bancha Purna
Kripa Kori Koro Tare Vrindavanavasi.
Tumi kripa kori karatare Vrindavanavasi.
Moraya Bila Vinash Kunje Diyoba
Moraya Vila Vilas Kunje Diyava
Ayane Ribo Sada Yugal Ruparasi.
Aminayane Viva Sada Jugala Ruparasi.
Eni Vedana Dharo Sakirānugata koro.
Eni Vedanadhara Sakirayano Katakara.
Devadikara diye koro nijadasi.
Sevayadi kara diye korone jadasi.
Dina Krishna dase koe ye namora hoye.
Dina Krishna dase kon ye namora.
Shri Radha Govinda preme sada jinabhasi.
Shri Radha Govinda preme sada yenavasi.
Shri Radha Govinda preme sada jinabhasi.
Shri Radha Govinda preme sada yenavasi.
Yani kani cha papani Brahma hatyadikani cha Tani tani pranasyanti Tadakshina pade pade.
Yanikani sapapani Brahmatani kanisa Tani tani pranasyanti Pradakshina pade pade.
Yani kani cha papani Brahma hatyadikani cha Tani tani pranasyanti Tadakshina pade pade.
Yanikani sapapani Brahmatani kanisa Tani tani pranasyanti Pradakshina pade pade.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani,
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Jaya Vrinda Devi, Vrinda Devi, Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi,
Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi.
Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol,
Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada,
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev,
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Bhai Priya Ke Sava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradede Satavatai Namo Namah. Vrindai Tulasi Bhai Priya Ke Sava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradede Satavatai Namo Namah. Vrindai Tulasi Bhai Priya Ke Sava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradede Satavatai Namo Namah. Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki. O Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you as wishes fulfilled, bestow your mercy upon him, you making resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also grant me a residence in pleasure groves, Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus within my vision I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of Kavya damsels of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna praise. May I always sing in love Shri Radha and go. Shri Mati Tulsi Maharani Vrindi Devi Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Kam Ki Jai. Chito Darpana Mahajanam Bhava Madhava Nirvapanam Shri Akari Chandrika Vitaranam Vidya Padhu Jivanam Ananda Varivardhanam Padipanam Punamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnam Parampara Vilayati Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Vaudha Nija Sarva Shaktis, Tatra Pita Niyamita, Shmarane Nakala, Ita Drisitava Pipaya, Bhagavan Mamapi, Durdaivam Idishamya, Janina Nuraga, Trinada Pisanichena, Tarora Pisa Ishnuna, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sada Hari, Nadhanam Najanam Nasundarim, Kavitamba Jagadishaka Maye, Mama Janmani Janmanishari, Bhavatar Bhakti Rahaitukitwai, Vainanda Tanuja Kinkaram, Paritamam Visame Bhavam Buddha, Kripaya Tabapada Pankaju, Sitaduli Sadrisham Vichintaya, Nayanam Galorashrudharaya, Padanam Gadagadharudaya Gira, Pulakarinchitam Vapukada, Tavanam Agrahane Bhavisati, Juga itam nimishena, Chakrusha Prarusa itam, Shunya itam Jagat Sarvam, Govinda Virahe Name, Asli Shabapa Daratam Pinashtuma, Adarshnar Marmahatam Karotuva, Chata Tathava Vidadhatulam Patu, Matpranatastu Saivana Para, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Kirastakam Ki Jai. Namo Mahavarannaya Krishna Prema Pradayati, Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya, Namine Gauratvishya Namaha. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire condition of life, repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan moment is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which all is anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govind. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by holy names. But I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lowered on straw in the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your cause of the devotion of service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yes, somehow or other I am falling in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And will the hairs of my body stand on the end of the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and it should remain so, even if it handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Krishna Kam Ki Jai. Mahavarannaya Krishna Prabhupada, Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Guru Vishnu Shri Krishna Bhuteswara. There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who dedicate their life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider names of the demigods, the Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literatures or literatures and pursuits of Vedic version. 5. To consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretations to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are often viewed as a fruitive activity, karma kanda. 9. To instruct the fearless person about the glories of the holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in chanting the holy names and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions in this matter. It also an offense to be inattentive about chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisance unto all the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. They are just like desired trees that can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha paritanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namo. Jayananta kuti vaishnavin. Guru Pranama Ki Jai. Om Jnana Timiranda Saganjana Salakaya Chachuran Menitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Shri Chaitananam Stam Sthapitam Jena Bhutali Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapanantikam Vandeyam Shri Guru Shri Jota Padakamanam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sarvajatam
Tam vitam tam sajivam sarvaitam sarvadutam parijana sahitam Krishna Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gurvani Pracharine Devasesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutali Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Tinamini Shri Varsavanavi Devi Dayitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha
Madhurjojala Pramadhyam Sirupanova Bhaktya Sigura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namaste Namaste Gora Bhani Simuktai Nataya Rupanuga Virupapasiddhanta Dvantahaya Namagura Kishoraya Sakya Viragya Murtai Pralamhara Sambuddhi Jayati Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sakya Anandanami Gura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gura Vidbhava Vamisman Videsha Sajana Priya Vaishnava Sarva Bhumasi Jaganatayate Namaha Vanchakalpatavyascha Shivasindhubivacha
Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Mohammadaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Guru Chuse Namaha Bhaktam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakam Namam Saktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinubandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Jaya Bangor Mamamanda Matergati Matsarvasva Padambojo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Vrindaranya Kalpadramadaha Shimad Ratnagara Simasanastato Shimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prestadi Bihi Sevyamano Smarami Shiman Rasara Sarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karsan Venus Manir Gopir Gopinatak Striyestuna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Brahma Samiti Ki Jai Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadi Radhe Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Chintamani Prakasadma Sukalpa Riksha Laksavritesha Surabira Vipaliantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambhrama Sevyamanam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Venam Kanantam Aravinda Dalayataksam Barhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Visesha Sobam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Changrada Sadvanamalya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranay Keli Kalavilasam Shaman Tribanga Lalita Nita Prakasam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakilendriya Vrittimante Pasyanti Panti Kalyanti Chiram Jaganti Yam Sham Nandandan Chinmaya Sadunjmula Vigrahasya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purisham Navayovanam Cha Vede Sadurlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastukoti Satavatsara Sampragamyo Vayora Tapi Manaso Manipungamanam So Pyastiyat Prapadasimya Vichintitatve Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chayatam Jagadanda Koti Yas Chakti Rasti Jagadanda Chayayadanta Andanta Rasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Bhava Bhavita Dio Manajasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Busa Suktarya Meva Nigama Pratitaistuvanti Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Saras Payabhibhav Vestabirya Evani Chirupa Taya Kalabi Goloka Evani Visata Kilatma Bhuto Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksa Deva Yadesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalani Menitistana Anavatar Makaro Bhuvanesu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramampamam Yo Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhuto Jagadanda Koti Kotisva Sesa Vasudadi Vibhuti Benam Tad Brahmaniskalam Anantam Sesa Bhutam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Mayahi Yasya Jagadanda Satani Sute Traigunya Tad Visaya Vida Vitayamanam Sattva Vulambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasatmatayamana Suya Prani Nampati Phalam Smaratam Yupetya Lilayatena Bhuvanani Jaya Yajasham Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Goloka Namni Nijadamni Tale Chitasya Devi Maheswari Dama Sute Sutesu Tete Prabhavini Jaya Vitrastayena Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shastista Te Pralaya Sadava Sakti Reka Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vivarti Durga Ichana Rupam Abhyasya Chitesta Tesa Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shiram Yata Dadivikara Visesa Yoga Sanjayate Nahitata Pritakasti Hetu Yasambhutama Pitatasam Paitikarya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Departure Devhita Santaram Abhyupetya Dipayate Vivite Hetu Samanu Dharma Yastadrik Eva Hicha Vishnu Tayavibhati Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyasya Bhavanti Loma Bila Jagandanata Vishnu Valvi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyaika Nisrasita Kalamatavalam Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanata Vishnu Mahansa Yasya Kala Visesho Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Basmanya Tasma Sakalesa Nijesu Teja Swiyam Kiyat Prakatayata Pitadvadakta Pramaya Esa Jagadanda Vidana Karta Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yatpada Palava Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha Dwande Pranama Samayesa Ganadi Raja Vignan Vihanta Malamasya Jagatra Yasya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahika Ganamambu Marudhi Sasya Kalasta Tatma Manasiti Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visanti Yamcha Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yaschak Suresa Savita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Surmurti Rasesa Teja Yasya Gaya Brahmati Sambrita Chakra Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Dharmota Papa Nishaya Sutayastapam Si Brahma Dikita Patagava Des Jivaha Yadata Matra Vibhava Pakatapa Bhava Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yaschendra Gopram Devendra Mahoswakarma Bandhanu Rupa Falabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nirdahati Kintu Chabakti Bhajam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Kam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranaya Dibiti Vatsaya Moha Gurgoro Vasavya Bhava Sanchincha Tasha Sadrisim Tanam Aparete Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Sriyakanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Juma Bhumish Chintamani Ganama Yituyam Amritam Kataganam Natyam Gamanam Apivam Sipriyasaki Chiranandam Jyoti Paramapita Daswadyamapicha Sayacha Shiradi Bihisa Vidisrabi Biasjumana Simedas Laksuva Vajatina Hiatrapika Samaye Vajay Swita Dritvam Tamaham Ila Golakam Itiam Vedantas Te Santakshiti Virachara Katipaye Guru Vastika prayers, Kijay. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it, so the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I, from my respectful basis unto Lotus Street, as such spiritual master is an ocean of auspicious qualities. Chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments, the spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind, sometimes his hair stands on end, he feels quivering in his body, and tears flow from his eyes like waves. From my respectful basis unto Lotus Street, as such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship of the Lord. From my respectful basis unto Lotus Street, as such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, analyzes that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasad, he is satisfied. From my respectful basis unto Lotus Street, as such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava and their qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. From my respectful basis unto Lotus Street, is such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert in assisting gopis who at different times meet different tastes or arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavana. From my most humble basis until Lotus Street, is such a spiritual master. The spiritual master to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he's the most confidential servant to the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, from my respectful basis unto Lotus Street, is such a spiritual master as a bona fide representative of Sri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master at least 3 times a day. I should offer my respectful basis unto Lotus Street of my spiritual master, his divine grace. Basi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, text number 17. Dunoti Cheta Smarato Mamaitat
Dunoti Cheta Smarato Mamaitat
Yad Ahapadav Abhivanya Pitro
Yad Ahapadav Abhivanya Pitro
Tatambakam Sad Urasankitanam
Tatambakam Sadurushankitanam
Prasidatam no Kritanis Kritaninam
Prasidatam no Krutanish-Krutitanam
Dunoti. It gives me pain.
It gives me pain.
Cheta.
Cheta,
Heart.
heart.
Smarata.
Smarata,
While thinking of.
while thinking of.
Mama.
Mama,
My.
etat,
This.
this,
Yet.
yat,
As much as.
as much as.
Aha.
Aha,
Said.
said.
Pado.
Padav,
Feet.
feet.
Abhivandya.
Abhivandya,
Worshipping.
worshipping.
Pitro.
Pitro,
Of the parents.
of the parents.
Tata.
Tata,
My dear father.
my dear father.
Amba.
Amba,
My dear mother.
my dear mother.
Kamsat.
Come
Out of Kamsas.
out of Krishna.
Uru. Great. Sankirtanam.
Sankirtanam,
Of those who are afraid.
of those who are afraid.
Prasidatam.
Prasidatam,
Be pleased with.
be pleased with.
Na.
Na,
Our.
our.
Akrita.
Akrita,
Not executed.
not executed.
Nishkritinam.
Nishkrita,
Duties to serve you.
duties to serve you.
Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Lord Krishna begged pardon from his parents for their, Krishna's and Balarama's, inability to serve their feet, due to being away from home because of great fear of Kamsa. He said, O mother, O father, please excuse us for this inability. All this behavior of the Lord gives me pain at heart. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. It appears that Lord Krishna and Baladeva were both very greatly afraid of Kamsa, and therefore they had to hide themselves. But if Lord Krishna and Baladeva are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how was it possible that they were afraid of Kamsa? Is there any contradiction in such statements? Vasudeva, due to his great appreciation for Krishna, wanted to give him protection. He never thought that Krishna was the Supreme Lord and could protect himself. He thought of Krishna as his son. Because Vasudeva was a great devotee of the Lord, he did not like to think that Krishna might be killed like his other children. Morally, Vasudeva was bound to deliver Krishna to the hands of Kamsa because he had promised to turn over all his children. But out of his great love for Krishna, he broke his promise, and the Lord was very pleased with Vasudeva for his transcendental mentality. He did not want to disturb the intense affection of Vasudeva, and thus he agreed to be carried by his father to the house of Nanda and Yasoda. And just to test the intense love of Vasudeva, Lord Krishna fell down in the waters of the Yamuna while his father was crossing the river. Vasudeva became mad after his child as he tried to recover him in the midst of the rising river. These are all glorified pastimes of the Lord, and there is no contradiction in such manifestations. Since Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he was never afraid of Kamsa, but to please his father, he agreed to be so. And the most brilliant part of his supreme character was that he begged pardon from his parents for being unable to serve their feet while absent from home because of fear of Kamsa. The Lord, whose lotus feet are worshipped by demigods like Brahma and Shiva, wanted to worship the feet of Vasudeva. Such instruction by the Lord to the world is quite appropriate. Even if one is the Supreme Lord, one must serve his parents. A son is indebted to his parents in so many ways, and it is the duty of the son to serve his parents, however great the son may be. Indirectly, Krishna wanted to teach the atheists who do not accept the supreme fatherhood of God, and they may learn from this action how much the Supreme Father has to be respected. Uddhava was simply struck with wonder by such glorious behavior of the Lord, and he was very sorry that he was unable to go with him. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Krishna begged pardon from his parents for their, Krishna's and Balaram's, inability to serve their feet due to being away from home because of great fear of Kamsa. He said, "O mother, O father, please excuse us for this inability. All this behavior of the Lord gives me pain at heart." Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we see that Krishna, out of appreciation for his pure devotees, will defer himself or subordinate himself to the devotee to reciprocate the particular type of rasa that the devotee is desiring to have with Krishna. So if Krishna reveals that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead to Yasoda Mai or to Vasudeva, that would ruin the relationship or the special rasa that one may have. If one has a conjugal rasa or the parental rasa or the friendship rasa or the servitor rasa or even the neutral rasa with the Lord, well, if he doesn't act in certain ways and shows that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that would ruin the whole rasa. And in order to preserve the rasa that the devotee has chosen, Krishna will act accordingly. So it says, the Lord whose lotus feet are worshipped by demigods like Brahma and Shiva wanted to worship the feet of Vasudeva. Such instruction by the Lord to the world is quite appropriate. So he wants to serve his father. His father went through a lot of difficulties to try and protect Krishna and in every way be the well-wisher of the Lord as a good parent. So there are different degrees or different levels of understanding Krishna's pastime. So on one level, he's preserving in every way the special rasa of his devotee, and oftentimes he has to subordinate himself to his devotee. Secondly, he's showing an ideal way a son behaves with his parents. And therefore, Prabhupada says, such instruction by the Lord to the world is quite appropriate. Even if one is the Supreme Lord, one must serve his parents. A son is indebted to his parents in so many ways, and it is the duty of the son to serve his parents, however great the son may be. So we see not so long ago in the news, it was the parents in India, the parents of a devotee boy who they paid for his education, they raised him in every way. And then the boy joins Hare Krishna movement, and he doesn't want to get married, and he doesn't want to have children. So the parents are suing him now. Did you see that article?
Yes.
Yeah. They're suing him because they say, look, we paid for his education, we raised him to be a good person, and now he joined the Hare Krishnas, he doesn't want to get married. And we're suing him because we want to have a grandchild. At least we can play with the grandchild. At least we get something out of all the money we invested in him. See? So it's very interesting. But see, obviously, the leaders in that temple and the boy himself have not read what we just read. Right? What does it say? That a son is indebted to his parents in so many ways, and it is the duty of the son to serve his parents, however great the son may be. Indirectly, Krishna wanted to teach the atheists who do not accept, and that's the third level of understanding this, right? First level is that Krishna is willing to subordinate himself to his devotees to maintain the rasa that they have chosen through which to relate to him. Okay. Second one is that he's given an example that a son should always be always take care of his parents. Right? Now the third one, Krishna wanted to teach the atheists who do not accept the supreme fatherhood of God, and they may learn from this action how much the Supreme Father has to be respected. Uddhava was simply struck with wonder by such glorious behavior of the Lord, and he was very sorry that he was unable to go with him. So we see there's three levels of understanding this pastime of the Lord, and ultimately it refers back to him and the fact that the atheists don't have any respect at all for God. So they're committing sinful activities. So yesterday we were discussing some of the unique qualities of Krishna, which is called the science of Krishna. Now the first point to understand when we use the word science, I've said this several times, but I want to repeat it again. The definition they give of science is not the real definition. So look up what they say is science. What is the definition of science according to the speculators?
So the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment.
Okay. That's their definition. But science is much more than that. Real science, not junk science, but real science, the definition is that it reveals the truth that is valid in all frames of reference and in all time, past, present, and future. That's the real definition of science. It's the truth that is true in all frames of reference and in all time, past, present, and future.
Axiometric.
Huh?
Axiometric.
Axiomatic means it's self-evident truth. Like, for example, there is a God. That's self-evident truth, because there has to be someone who started everything and is maintaining everything, and who also may withdraw everything. It didn't happen by itself. Matter cannot organize itself. I mean, every experiment you do to see if matter can organize itself will be a failure. Not one experiment can show that matter organizes itself. See, anytime you put, let's say you want to build a house, so you go to Home Depot and buy all the paraphernalia to build a house, and then you take it to your land where you're going to build it, and you leave it there and see, and just wait and see if it's going to organize itself into a house. Do you think it would ever organize itself into a house? No, it's impossible, right? And every machine in this world, whether it's cars or robots or airplanes or rockets or anything industrially produced, has an intelligence behind it. I mean, nuts and bolts and rivets and things, they don't just go by themselves and make a truck, right? I mean, you have to have people behind it. And so every machine has a person behind it to maintain it and keep and make it do what it's supposed to do. And who made the machine? It didn't make itself. Somebody manufactured it. Intelligent people manufactured the machine. So, therefore, Iswara Sarvabhutanam Hriddese Rijunatistati Ramayan Yantarudrani. So this verse 61. Yeah. Yantra Rudrani Maya. Brahmayan Sarvabhutani Yantra Rudrani Maya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of material energy. Well, what is he referring to? He's referring to the material body. It's like a machine. It is a machine. So, and behind every machine, or at the origin of every machine, is an intelligent person. There is no machine that has been manufactured in this world or that is functioning in this world without the superintendence of an intelligent person. You show me, you buy all the parts of a machine and wait and see if it puts itself together. You see, every experiment they would do to show that matter organizes itself is a failure. They cannot show one example of it. You know, let's say they make they take all the parts of an airplane and they spread them out in a warehouse and wait to see for the airplane to construct itself. Do you think it would ever happen? No. It's complete nonsense that they think that everything started by accident or whatever their theory is. And then Prabhupada says, Arjuna was not the supreme knower. This is 1861. And his decision his decision to fight or not to fight was confined to his limited discretion. That means he was not accepting Krishna's advice, and is limited to his discretion, his way of thinking, his way of understanding what to do. Lord Krishna instructed that the individual is not all in all. In other words, the individual is not completely independent. Right? The Supreme Personality of Godhead, or He Himself, Krishna, as the localized supersoul, sits in the heart, directing the living being. After changing bodies, the living entity forgets his past deeds, but the supersoul, as the knower of the past, present, and future, remains the witness of all his activities, meaning the jiva's activities. Therefore, all the activities of living entities are directed by this supersoul. The living entity gets what he deserves and is carried by the material body which is created in the material energy under the direction of the supersoul. As soon as a living entity is placed in a particular type of body, he has to work under the spell of that bodily situation. A person seated in a high-speed motor car goes faster than one seated in a slower car, though the living entities, the drivers, may be the same. Similarly, by the order of the Supreme Soul, material nature fashions a particular type of body to a particular type of living entity, so that he may work according to his past desires. The living entity is not independent. One should not think himself independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The individual is always under the Lord's control, therefore one's duty is to surrender, and that is the injunction of the next verse. Well, this brings up a very interesting point, and that is that Krishna has two very unique qualities that nobody else has. And what are they? Well, that's explained in the first canto, first verse, in the purport. And right in the verse itself also, where it says that Shri Vyasadeva does not worship Brahma, but the Supreme Lord who guides Brahma in his creative activities. Brahma is not the source of Krishna. Krishna is the source of Brahma, right? And then after that it says, therefore, Sri Vyasadeva does not worship Brahma, but the Supreme Lord who guides Brahma in his creative activities. So Vyasadeva worships the Supreme Lord, or Krishna. And Vasudeva is an incarnation of Krishna. Okay, so then it says, therefore, Sri Vyasadeva does not worship Brahma, but the Supreme Lord who guides Brahma's creative activity. The particular words abhigya and swarat are significant. These two words distinguish the Supreme Lord from all other living entities. No other living entity is either abhigya, having unlimited knowledge, or swarat, having unlimited independence. He's completely knowledgeable and completely independent. No one can be equal to him. There's this one word, asamudra, Sanskrit word, means no one is equal to or greater than Krishna. Everyone is subordinate. That is, no one is either fully cognizant or fully independent. Even Brahma has to meditate upon the Supreme Lord in order to create. Then what to speak of great scientists like Einstein? The brains of such scientists are certainly not the products of any human being. Scientists cannot manufacture such a brain, and what to speak of foolish atheists who defy the authority of the Lord. Even Mayavadi impersonalists who flatter themselves that they can become one with the Lord are neither abhigya, that is, fully cognizant, and swarat, meaning fully independent. So, scientists cannot manufacture such a brain, such as Einstein had. And what to speak of foolish atheists who defy the authority of the Lord? So, when Einstein died, the scientists got permission from his closest relatives to cut his brain out and analyze it. So they have, if you go on the internet, you'll see the analysis of his brain. And they saw one part that's a little bit different than most brains, right? So they attributed his genius to that part. But it's not true. If he was a genius in any way, he was not a genius when it comes to life. He was a philanderer. he cheated on his wife, and then he finally divorced her, married somebody else, and he was always running after women. And secondly, as far as knowing something about God, he knew almost zero about God. He just speculated. So he might have been good at theoretical physics, but he was a virtual failure as far as life is concerned, and the purpose of life. So it says, scientists cannot manufacture such a brain, and what to speak of foolish atheists who defy the authority of God, of the Lord. Even Mayavadi and personalists who flatter themselves that they can become one with the Lord are neither abhigya, fully cognizant, nor swarat, fully independent. Such impersonalists undergo severe austerities to acquire knowledge to become one with the Lord, but ultimately they become dependent on some rich disciple who supplies them with money to build monasteries and temples. Atheists like Ravana or Hiranyakashipu had to undergo severe penances before they could flout the authority of the Lord, in other words, challenge the authority of the Lord. But ultimately, they were rendered helpless and could not save themselves when the Lord appeared before them as cruel death. This is also the case with modern atheists who dare to flout, meaning dare to oppose, to obstruct the authority of the Lord. Such atheists will be dealt with similarly, for history repeats itself. Now that's an important point. Anyone who tries to be greater than Krishna, they will fail. Anyone who wants to counter the laws of material nature, they will fail. Right? Like when the scientists promise that, well, in the future, maybe by 2050, death will be optional. If you want to die, you can die. If you don't want to die, well, we will have the cure for death. This is all nonsense. These birth, death, old age, disease, these are laws of nature. You cannot change them. And everybody knows that. But yet the scientists say, no, we're going to overcome that whole thing. Death will be optional. So this is the nonsense that's going on in society, and because of that, people are suffering terribly because they believe that nonsense. Okay, so the Lord has two unique qualities that no one can emulate. And so we are all equal to the Lord as far as eternity goes, but we'll never be equal to the Lord as far as being fully cognizant or full of knowledge, unlimited knowledge, and swarat, complete independence. We will, even in our liberated state, we're still dependent on the Lord in every way. Okay, so how to prove that God exists? Well, you have to explain to people his unique qualities. First unique quality, we'll go over this again. The first unique quality is that he's the source of everything, material and spiritual. 10th chapter, 8th verse. Number 2, he's the prime eternal of all eternal beings. He's distinguished by being the maintainer of all the living entities. Well, first of all, we are all being maintained by Krishna. All living entities, all the 8,400,000 species are being maintained by Krishna. How do we know that? Because they're proliferating. They haven't disappeared. The earth is not bereft of all trees and vegetables and flowers and people and different species, the mosquitoes, the bugs, the birds, the aquatics, the mammals, the spiders and snakes. They're all there, and they keep reproducing. So how can you say that there's no all cognizant, all independent living entity behind all this? Say, so we'll never be equal to or greater than the Lord. And another thing that it distinguishes him uniquely is that he's the provider of everyone else. Right? And then he also, by his expansion as super soul, he knows everything that's happening. He knows the desires of every people. He's indwelling in the heart of every living entity. So this is another major mistake that people make. They always look for happiness outside, finding a new girlfriend, or finding a new boyfriend, or buying a new car, or going on a vacation, or buying a gun to protect themselves, right? All these decisions that they're making are based on the body, not on the soul, right? And everyone is subordinate to the Lord and depends on the Lord. And they don't know what's happening everywhere. They hardly know what's even happening in their own body, right? Then another point is that God is transcendental to the modes of material nature. And he's also not affected by any kind of work. He's not attached to the fruits of work. He's not entangled by the reactions of work. And then Krishna possesses mutually contradictory qualities. So, that's explained in Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, 14th to 17th verse. And the previous one, God's not affected by work, is Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, 22nd verse. And that he's transcendental to the modes, that's Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, 12th verse. And that he's the maintainer of all living entities, that's Bhagavad Gita 22:20. And, okay, so then, number 6, God possesses mutually contradictory qualities. That's Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, 14th to 17th verse. Then God possesses all opulences, Sat Aishwarya Purnam, beauty, fame, wealth, power, renunciation, intelligence or knowledge, right? And then he possesses all the yoga siddhis, Anima, Lagima, Mahima, Prapti, Prakamya, Isitva, Vasitva, Kamavasaita. So he has all those mystic powers. And not only he has them in full, more than anyone else. And then he's the cause of all causes, without beginning or end. And he's the original person. These are all unique things. And then he mystifies all living entities, including Brahma, Shiva, and Durga, by his Mahamaya, or Maya potency. And then he controls the time factor, one's own nature that comes about by association, and the different purificatory rites or samskaras that is performed for the Lord. And then also he he's in charge, or he controls purification, called samskaras. And he also controls swabhava, one's own nature, by association. And then he controls kama, or desire. And when I say controls, he doesn't control, but he facilitates the desires of the living entities. We can't do it on our own, because we need legs, we need arms, we need eyes, nose. So he's maintaining all these things so one can attain their desires. But it's only based on their previous karma. And then that's the next one, the karma, or fruit of activity. He gives the fruit of the activity according to the the karma of a person. And then the gunas, he is in control of the gunas, the three modes of material nature. Okay, so then besides that, in the spiritual world, and even in the material world, Krishna is always the knower and the known. But in the material world, the knower and the known are different. In the spiritual world, the knower and the known are the same. Like, what is the known? The known is, let's say, the light. Well, Krishna is the source of the light, and he's not different than the light, you see. So everything in the spiritual world is, it would be called, he's controlling things, and as opposed to the material world where a person is different than their body, a person is different than light, a person is different than a tree, etc. But in the spiritual world, that's not a fact. It's not like that. Krishna and his body is the same thing. Krishna and his light it's the same. It's Brahma Jyoti. It's part of him. It's not different than him, right? So then also, Krishna is not subject to the three modes of material nature, but we are. So if some ordinary human being claims to be God, you would have to be an expert to explain to them who is God exactly. Unless we come to that point, there'll always be some kind of lacking in our ability to convince people. Also, there's the duality of inferior and spiritual exists. Inferior and superior exists in the material world. It's not the same in the spiritual world, because everyone is of the same superior energy as Krishna, Sat Chitananda Vigraha. But in the material world, there are different degrees of energy and different degrees of abilities and different degrees of intelligence and so forth. Okay, so besides that, there's still more things. Like, for example, Krishna has mastered 64 qualities and 64 arts. No one else can claim that, not even, not the demigods, and not even the different expansions of Krishna, except for Balaram. Okay, and Krishna has infinite expansions. No one can do that, infinitely expand themselves. Right? Okay. And Krishna has this achintya shakti, inconceivable energy, unending, just like the sun. It's like unending flow of light and energy and heat coming into the material world. Okay. So also Krishna possesses the Astagunas, the Astasiddhis, and Sadashwarya. Now that's a very important, another distinguishing factor of the Lord. The let's see what these are. The Astagunas, he has Daya, love for all living beings. Shanti, unending patience. Anasaya, never envious. Socham, cleanliness. Anayasya, doing things easily. And Karpanya, never miserly. And Mangala, always full of auspiciousness. in aspriha. He has no material desires. So there's the astagunas, and then there's the they're the yoga cities. We already named them. And then there's Sad Aishwarya, the 6 opulences. So no one else can claim having these things in full. They might have them partially, but never fully. So these are all interesting points to understand the absolute uniqueness of Krishna. He also has the Virat Rupa, which encompasses everything. Everything is situated within the Virat Rupa. And then he is the source of everything, right? Janmadasayata. And then he's indwelling in everything. No one else can claim that. Yeah, a super soul in the heart of every living entity. So then also Krishna cannot perform any sinful acts. Even if it looks sinful, it's not sinful. Right? And he has what's called absolute transcendence. There's no admixture like us with matter. He's always situated in his internal spiritual potency. Okay, so then there's a very interesting, there's still more. We actually could never come to the end of Krishna's transcendental qualities, because as soon as we name something, there's another thing that pops up. So it's impossible to surpass the transcendental qualities of Krishna. Okay, so but there's another very interesting thing, and that is, again, back to the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1. Prabhupada gives a very powerful example. He says, that the Supreme Lord is all perfect is confirmed in all Shruti mantras. It is said in the Shruti mantras that the all-perfect Lord threw a glance over matter and thus created all living beings. The living beings are parts and parcels of the Lord, and he impregnates the vast material creation with seeds of spiritual sparks. Wow. And that's coming in through the Brahma Jyoti into the material world. And thus the creative energies are set in motion to enact so many wonderful creations. An atheist may argue that God is no more expert than a watchmaker. But of course, God is greater because he can create machines in duplicate male and female forms. The male and female forms of different types of machineries go on producing innumerable similar machines without God's further attention. If a man could produce or could manufacture such a set of machines that could produce other machines without his attention, then he could approach the intelligence of God. But that is not possible, for each machine has to be handled individually. Therefore, no one can create as well as Krishna. Another name of Krishna is Asamordva, which means that no one is equal to or greater than him. Well, that is not only a fact, but no one can create as well as the Lord. Another name for the Lord is Asamordva, which means that no one is equal to or greater than him. And then Param Satyam, or the supreme truth, is he who has no equal or superior. This is confirmed in the Shruti mantras. It is said that before the creation of Brahma, it says, before the creation of material universe, there existed the Lord only, who is master of everyone. That Lord instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge. That Lord has to be obeyed in all respects, Anyone who wants to get rid of the material entanglement must surrender unto him. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Unless one surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, it is certain that he will be bewildered. When an intelligent man surrenders unto the lotus feet of Krishna and knows completely that Krishna is the cause of all causes, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, then only can such an intelligent man become a Mahatma, or great soul. But such a great soul is rarely seen. Only the Mahatmas can understand that the Supreme Lord is the primeval cause of all creations. He is Parama, and ultimate truth, because all other truths are relative to him. He is omniscient. For him, there is no illusion. These are all unique qualities of Krishna. And right in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, the purport, and the verse and the purport, these points are amplified so we can understand them. Okay, so now in this pastime, from this verse today, it's astounding that it says, Uddhava was simply struck with wonder by such glorious behavior of the Lord, and he was very sorry that he was unable to go with him. So, Uddhava is such an advanced devotee, but he's amazed by the Lord. And Maitreya is also such an advanced devotee. He's also amazed by the Lord, although both of them have the power to create, things that no one else can, and do things that no one else can emulate. So, when Krishna acts like a ideal son and reciprocates by being submissive to his father and mother, this is astounding. Right? The Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes vulnerable to the love of his devotees, and therefore he'll subordinate himself and follow orders by his father or mother, or his. So normally it's hard to even imagine that God would do a thing like that. Okay. So we'll stop right there. Are there any questions?
So Maharaj, a couple of clarifications. I think the example that you gave, or the recently somebody suing, the parents suing the child,
Yes.
is not. So there, I'm not sure I picked up maybe what you meant. Like, so obviously there is a respecting the parents is one thing,
Yeah.
but also the child in this case making the choice that he doesn't want to maybe get entangled and follow the higher dharma, which is probably to stay abstinent from participating in the sense gratification. So what is the right duty there?
Okay. Well, the right duty is to, serve Krishna, obviously. Right? But how can you serve him if people are severely criticizing the behavior of their son? See? So it's giving a negative view of Krishna consciousness. So the boy could have placated his father and mother by not being adamantly opposed to, what they wanted. So ignoring them is a big mistake. And then, people will be sentimentally supporting the parents. But also we have examples here where it says that Krishna wanted to teach the atheists who do not accept the supreme fatherhood of God, and they may learn from this action. What is his action? This action, that such instruction by the Lord to the world is quite appropriate. Even if one is the Supreme Lord, one must serve his parents. Okay, now how could he have served his parents? His parents want a grandchild. So that means he has to get married and then quit the life of brahmachari. Well, most devotees do that. So let's say he wants to be a genuine brahmachari. Okay, but he should communicate with his parents and explain, in a very humble way, what he's trying to do. He's trying to live like a brahmachari his whole life. He doesn't want to get married. So there has to be some reciprocation, though. If the boy, I don't know all the facts, but if the boy refuses to talk to his parents because they're always, trying to force him to do something he doesn't want to do, that would be a mistake because it just gets the parents angrier. So he has to be kind to his parents by giving prasadam, by remembering, sometimes visiting them, inviting them to the temple, giving them VIP treatment. There's ways of calming people down through communication and kindness. So if he, now I don't know exactly what he was doing, but if he didn't do things like that, it's not surprising that the parents take such a radical step of suing him in court. Whether you're going to win or not, I don't know. But it's bad publicity.
Yes.
And we should not get people upset. We have to avoid that.
Just regarding the same topic, Maharaj,
Yes.
it exactly happened to me and Durga when we, about 4 years ago when we went to Chennai. This exact incident that we are just sharing now happened to us. We went to one of the ISKCON's temple, which is just very close to my house. And we were eating prasadam. And there was another elderly woman who came and sat beside us. And this is exactly what, I'm not adding or subtracting anything. This is exactly what happened. She came and sat beside us, and then we were getting served prasadam, sitting on the floor. And then she was sitting next to Durga, my wife. She tapped her lap and said, "Hey, I want to tell you a very important information, and I want you to listen to what I'm saying very carefully." And she was lowering her voice as if she was going to tell a secret. And she told to Durga that, "I see that you have 2 good boys, beautiful boys, but be very, very careful coming to this temple." This is exact words that she is saying. She said, "Be very, very careful." And we were like taken aback, and we were asking, why, is something wrong? And then she said, no. These are the same people who actually converted my son into a celibate or a brahmachari. They snatched, these are again her words, they snatched my son from me. And he was all doing engineering colleges in one of the, not so prestigious, but next to the prestigious one. One below the prestigious one. So he was going there. He finished his engineering. We spent a lot of money on him, and then suddenly the Hare Krishnas came, and then within 3 months, he said that he's going to become a brahmachari, and then he has come to this temple and became a brahmachari. So I'm warning you that, if you take your boys here especially, they are going to become brahmacharis. So if you do not want that, I recommend that you run away right away. Seriously, these are the words that that poor lady was,
She's traumatized.
Yeah, she's absolutely traumatized, and I'm able to understand this because my mother, when she was alive, she used to equate agyana to love. In the sense, agyana means without knowledge, right? So whenever I do something that is related to this, she would say, "Hey, I'm telling you because of agyana." She meant that, because of my extreme love for you. But agyana is basically, she is not knowledgeable of what the kid is doing. It is for the higher purpose. But because of agyana, this mother that we were talking to, she is thinking in a bad way that, if you're not going to get married, then it's a bad thing. And we have invested, as you were saying, this other couple has sued them. I mean, it's very unfortunate. And after that, we had a discussion. It's a good thing as long as they are not going in a bad path. This is a higher purpose that if the son or daughter or whoever wants to become like that, it's a very, very good thing, because I'm not able to control my senses. That's why I had the kids. But if my kid is going to make that decision of not going into grihastha ashrama, it's a very good thing. I have achieved a better goal in my life, because if I'm a parent like that, I would think in that way. Again, that's because of joining Krishna consciousness. But I was just taken aback. We were taken aback when this lady came and actually genuinely telling us that you run away right away, because these guys will she used a Tamil word called maya. Mayam we say in Tamil. She said they will do some maya and then and bring your child to this and then make them a brahmachari.
Wow. Put your son in Maya.
The word mayam we say in Tamil. So she said they will do some maya jalam and bring your son here. So be very careful.
Well, you see, that's very bad that type of reputation is being developed in the eyes of people, and it's going to have a negative effect on preaching.
There's a whole video or something that Mangala Aarti has made, especially on this topic, that this got bad reputation, and also Mangala Prabhu has made a special video on this, that he was exemplified his own example, that he become a brahmachari, he went to his family. I also go to my family. I'm giving. It's not. I mean, so people have a lot of bad conception, like ISKCON does this, that. So he was trying to explain that whole thing, that it's not the true.
What's not true?
That ISKCON does this. This is like everybody. I mean.
Well, how can you say it's not true if you have examples?
Yeah, but that is again that individual's choice, right? Alright, so he joined. I mean, ISKCON doesn't do anything. I forced him to come or do brahmachari, right?
See, trying to look, there are controversial issues, right? And to figure out what's the right thing is not easy. Therefore, tomorrow I will talk about this much more in depth. And I'll read a letter that Prabhupada wrote to a lady who complained that she met devotees and she was shocked to see their lack of love and empathy for others. And Prabhupada wrote a long letter explaining so many things to her about, the purpose of Krishna consciousness and so forth, and even he admits that his devotees may not be always, up to, a higher level of knowledge, and sometimes their behavior may be not representative of pure Krishna consciousness, but still, he insisted that the fact they've chosen to be engaged in devotional service makes them very special. So I'll read that letter to you tomorrow. So these are like difficult things to answer, because on one side it's very emotional. The parents are really upset, right? And this has been plaguing the movement for years. Right in the beginning, some of the devotees, they did actually, almost in a sense, kidnap young kids and made them into devotees, and then hid them from their parents. And parents really freaked out and caused so much trouble. And Prabhupada said, "Look, why are you doing this? We're just getting the people angry. Don't do this. And don't take such young kids, like 14-year-old kids, and then they were hiding them from the parents, sending them, to other temples where the parents didn't know where the kid was, on purpose. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Haribol. There are two sides to the story.
Exactly.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Bandamui Sabadana Te Janara Prasade Vai E Bhavatori Ajaye Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Aranakoriya Maneya Sa Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttamagati Nerati Aise Uttamagati Ye Prasade Pure Sarva Asa Chakshudana Lila Jai Janmi Janmi Prabhu say Divya Jnana Hriday Prakasito Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinasahajate Vede Gai Jannara Jarito Shri Guru Prema Shri Guru Paranda Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu Lokenat Lokera Jivana Lokenat Lokera Jivana Ha Prabhu Kora Doya De Amore Badachaya Ebe Asku Sakti Bhuvana Ebe Asku Sakti Bhuvana Ha ha Prabhu Kora Doya Teha Muri Padachaya Ha ha Prabhu Koradvaya Dehamure Padachaya Eveyas Kusikti Bhuvana Eveyas Kusikti Bhuvana Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskadya Desatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gora Haribo, Haribo, Gora Haribo, Nita Gora Haribo. Jai Vishnupad, Paramahansa Parivajika Chastatra Satara Shishi Shimad, His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Antakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shri Prabhu Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasani Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapura Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai, Jamuna Maya Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premananda. All glories to the Samudra, all glories to Samuduris, all glories to Samuduris, all glories to Shiguru and Shigranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Patita Pavani Ki Jai, Jai Shri Krishna Bhagavan Ki Jai. Namaste, Saraswati. There's a time. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to this lotus feet with great honor and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is a perfection and fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. By him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and Lord and master of devotees. O Master, be merciful to us. Give us the shade of your lotus